that he has started all these in this area, and rightly said, Jawan turned into a Kisan. And Jawan, of course, once Jawan is always lifelong Jawan. He is a Jawan and has now become, along with Jawan, a Kisan also. So once again, a big thank you to you, sir, and hearty welcome to KLE Institute of Technology. I hope my students will take the maximum benefit of this event. We have made the number small, so students are sitting in a group in a hall in order to reduce the number of the registrants. So that will benefit them. They can interact with you, and if the questions are not audible, they can transfer it to the organizers here and ask you the questions. And also, I would invite you to come to our institute when you come back from your holiday from Australia to India, and we want this program to be given to the elders as well, not just the students, the elders also, because this is a new concept, and a concept which is now taking its strides. And therefore, I would request you on behalf of all to come to our institution and benefit us from your vast knowledge on hydroponics along with other aspects. So I take this opportunity to compliment my civil engineering department headed by Dr. Rajshekhar, and a very good program being arranged by Dr. D.R. Kulkarni sir. So once again, thank you to the student organizers and all of you. And let us hear from Lieutenant Commodore C.V. Prakash sir now. Thank you, sir. And I hand over to the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Jagdish of third sem to introduce the chief guest.
Sir, Lieutenant CDR C.V. Prakash sir, pioneer in Indian hydroponics and greenhouse management profession. Sir was born on 29th of December 1962. He completed his schooling in Sainik School, Bijapur. He studied in National Defence Academy from 1980 to 1983. He holds Nehru University, New Delhi. Sir is a hydroponics or soilless cultivational grower, trainer, auditor, and project management expertise. He is a technical advisor for government bodies and cooperate in field of hydroponics. About Sir's military experience, he was a commissioned officer in Indian Navy from 1984 to 1997. Sir took VRS from Indian Navy's Submarine Arm in 1997. Sir retired in the rank of Lieutenant Commander. Sir is specialist in anti-submarine warfare. Thank you.
Thank you, Jagdish. Now I kindly request the chief guest to take over for the presentation. Sir, please.
Dr. Joshi, Dr. Rajshekhar, Dr. Dhruv Kulkarni, all my students who are watching this program, and I have also got about 2 or 3 of my long-term students who are from Bangalore who also joined this program. Welcome to all of you. And right now here, the time in Australia is 7:57 in the evening. And it's my pleasure to spend this Saturday evening with all of you and try and explain to you a little bit about soilless agriculture or soilless horticulture. This is not something that I've invented or discovered. It has been around for a long time in most of the developing countries. And I had the opportunity to learn this subject because I migrated to Australia in the year 2000, and I learned for 8 years. And when I developed a degree of confidence, a little bit of confidence, I said I must take this back to my country because it's already happening here in a big way. So the whole idea was I looked at the Indian conditions and our population, the way we are using chemical pesticides, and without thinking of what will happen to the health of our people, the wastage of water, and the lack of quality food. I'm a believer of the fact that good food, not just food, but good food is a human birthright. It has nothing to do with a rich or a poor man. I am a Maruti 800 farmer, and I believe that everyone should be able to afford basic food and of a good, decent quality without any of the heavy metals and microbiological contamination. Today, we boast of having. Did somebody ask a question? Okay. So the whole thing is that we need to be able to produce good food, because we on the one hand, we say India has a demographic dividend, which means we have more than 60 or 50% of the population below the age of 35. But the whole thing is your demographic dividend, and its capabilities are based upon the kind of food that our young people eat, because they are the ones who take this nation or the world forward. So most of our children, most of the young people are today not eating quality food. They are more into eating, all kinds of fast food and all kinds of things. And that's one of the reasons why the immunity levels are low. So this is a subject that I love, because I do it as a matter of passion, mission, and I have a vision that tomorrow's people should enjoy the benefits of good quality food. So having said that, soilless farming is something that had started more than a century ago in a commercial form, and it's been improving all the time. The whole idea of soilless farming is that, you see, today we have a lot of soil. People ask me, we have so much of soil, then why should we use soilless methodology? The problem is that soilless farming is important because soil has depleted in many ways. Either they are undernourished or they are overnourished with too much of fertilizer, too much of pesticide use, too much of heavy metal traces, too much of bad microbiology in the soil, because of which we are unable to take our plants to their genetic potential. Just to give you an example, if you have a variety of tomato, which the seed company tells us that you can expect up to 5 kilos or 8 kilos per plant in its life cycle, in soil, we are not able to take that plant to even 2.5 kilos yield as a matter of genetic potential. But here, what happens in soilless farming is we replace or we substitute soil with a media which also can imitate what soil does. Now, what does soil do? Soil holds water, soil holds the nutrition or the fertilizer, and soil gives anchorage to the plant, or the ability for a plant to stay straight. So if we can use a media which comes absolutely in a sterile method, which has no nutrient in it, at the same time, it has no microbiological contamination. The whole idea is to start the plants right from seed, take it up to the harvest without any bad microbiology, without any heavy metal traces. Today, we see a lot of young people around the world at the age of 25, 30 with cancer. We see people with backache. We have all kinds of problems, which we never saw in our generation. So the thing is that, yes, it's a more comfortable life today, but at the same time, we need to be able to nourish ourselves in a way that it helps us be productive in this country or in this world. So having said that, soilless farming, I'm going to be taking you through a bit of what are the opportunities in this field and other things. But again, many of you who might have already come to know that this program is going to happen may have Googled to find out what is soilless agriculture. Just to give you, just to tell you, it's not as simple as it looks. It's a perfect science. It's not rocket science. And many people think that agriculture is not a science. It's some kind of art. Actually, it is a science because everything that happens in plant world, there's a science behind it. And to be able to grow a plant, you have to have exemplary horticultural skill. A plant is like a child. A child asks for certain things and the parents provide it. And in the process, and in doing so, we empower our own children. So plants are also like children. We need to empower them. They feel hungry, they feel thirsty. Sometimes they need more light. Sometimes they say, oh, it's too humid, and all these kind of things. So we got to take care of them, and we need to steer the crop right from seed up to the harvest and beyond in a way that science is behind it. So the whole idea of soilless agriculture, and when I teach my students, is to tell everyone that it's not that you just put in a seed and pour water and expect miracles out of it. No, you got to understand there's science behind how plants grow, and it's a huge subject. And even after 21 years in this field, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I still put myself at 2, which means I'm still learning myself. So when I teach people the subject, I tell them that I'm teaching you not from the margins of my knowledge, but from the margins of my ignorance. That means I learn every single day. So this today, my idea is to take you through the soilless cultivation and what are the different areas in which you can make a living out of it. A lot of people are running towards from the rural areas to the urban areas, thinking that if I go to the city, my life will be better. I'll earn more money. But at some stage, if all the people leave, the young people leave the rural areas and go to cities, who's going to feed the world? So there is an opportunity here by using the soilless technology method, and I will take you through various opportunities and how it happens. Yep. So just to give you a small, quick introduction about myself, I'm a teacher. I do skill building in this field because without the skill, this soilless agriculture cannot proceed much further in this country. So I train people. I set up greenhouse. Help people to set up their greenhouses, net houses, and I give agronomy help, crop advice, seed selection, and what kind of soilless system to be selected. And then how do you do a farm management review plan? So many people say that I'm too strict as far as this subject is concerned. But even in farming, you need to have a lot of planning that needs to go to make a successful farm. So setting up of standard operating procedures, integrated pest management, greenhouse management, occupational health and safety, audits. I do audits on and off site. I am a nutrient management specialist for different crops. What are the kind of nutrition that is required? Systems management, nursery management. How do you schedule the crops? Greenhouse environment management and global agricultural practices and HACCP, which is Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point certification. I help companies or individuals to get those kind of certifications. So the science of growing fruits, herbs, vegetables, saplings, seedlings without soil in any sterile medium that can replicate what soil does. So what happens is that we have total control over the crop because we can steer the crop to its genetic potential because we apply a lot of science into it. It's not that it's just about giving water to the plant or irrigation to the plant. It's not about only light. It's not about only humidity. It's not about, it's about many, many different factors that, several factors that go into making a crop a wonderful crop. One of the biggest problems faced by farmers all around the world, whether it is soil or soilless, is pest and disease management. And as we move further into the future, we are faced with a great amount of challenges. We have global warming on one side. We have no way to predict what's going to happen. Just to give you an example, this morning, the prediction in Melbourne, Australia was 32 degrees centigrade was the highest temperature got to be, and we were supposed to have a heat wave here. By afternoon, 3 o'clock, the temperature dropped from 32 to just 22. So we have all these kind of various factors that keep changing, which are beyond our control. So that is the biggest challenge that we're going to face as we move into the future. So unless we apply science to this, to agriculture, there is no way that we're going to make it. All the conventional methods of growing were okay till maybe 10 or 20 years ago. But unless we look at science and apply science, there is no hope. So therefore, the whole idea of my teaching my students is that they need to understand that there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of science behind what we do. That's why we have the University of Agricultural Sciences in Dharwad. Why do they call it agricultural sciences? Because there is science behind it. Like in the human medical terms, we have a human pathologist, we have a physiologist, we have an eye specialist, we have a various disease specialists, we have cardiologists. Like that, same thing in agriculture. The only difference is there we look at plants per se. And the challenge in the plant kingdom is that there are millions of different kinds of plants in this world. And in medical science, we are only dealing with a human being. So there's a huge difference. Each plant is different. Understanding them is very important. Only then you will be able to apply the science and get the best out of it. So like I said, Why soilless when there's no dearth of soil? Because all the soil today, anywhere in the world you go, you find the soils are completely damaged. We need to leave the soil as it is for another 200 years if we need the soil to come back to its original shape. We know what's happening. The amount of diseases that are in the soil are not allowing plants to grow to their potential. And farmers are completely at a loss as to what to do because of global warming and so many different problems. So there are two applications of soilless cultivation. One, I call it as simple soilless cultivation, and one is commercial soilless cultivation. Simple soilless cultivation is also good because, as you all know, all of us have, our homes, we have rooftops, we have a little bit of space where there's sunlight, and we have some decent water. We can grow a lot of vegetables within our homes and actually eat what we grow instead of buying from the market. There are a lot of people, when I tell them that you can grow at home, they say, why should we take the trouble when we can grow, when we can go to the market and buy our vegetables? But then, you know what, when you buy from outside, you don't even know where it's coming from, and you don't even know how contaminated it is. So I have this two different verticals. One is I ask people to grow vegetables at home. And it's not that you can grow every vegetable, but you can definitely grow a few of them. So if you eat good food, the thing is that you're going to have good health and you'll be more productive. Then we have the commercial side, where if you want to be a commercial farmer and you want to address the market, you can also go into commercial farming. But again, commercial farming is not that you just walk into it. You need to go through a lot of difficulties and challenges. And if I have the permission from the organizers at the end, I have about 2 or 3 of my 90-day program students here. I would request them also to say a few words so that they can share their experience, because they have come, most of them come without having planted a seed in their lifetime. So in 90 days in my Bangalore training program, they go through several challenges, and they're asked to show me about 30 to 50 different kinds of crops from seed to harvest. So when we talk of simplified soilless agriculture, now you can see this lady here. This is a picture from Argentina. And this is a lady with 2 small kids, and she lost her husband. And my Guruji in America is a lady called Peggy Bradley, and she has worked in 23 different countries of the world. You can see here in very simple way how this lady and her 2 kids look after this garden. They have enough to take home every day for their sustainability. And also, if they need to buy some things, when they have extra money, they sell. And you can see they're using old cups, old plastic containers to grow vegetables. So this is how your simple family can also have a small garden at home and grow a lot of things. You can even share with your neighbors, so you can grow some clean, healthy food. So commercial hydroponics is basically for people who would like to make it a career, make it a business, and sell to the rest of the world. So this is a little bit different, wherein you need to have even more scientific knowledge. So the business verticals in this field are basically, once you learn, you can also become a trainer like me. You can set up in your own area and teach other people how to grow vegetables using soilless technology. You can set up even hydroponic retail shops where you can buy from the growers. You can become a small little consultant over a period of time. You can also make urban rooftop clusters. Like I know Hubballi and Dharwad very well, and there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different homes which are either single story or double story with their rooftops doing nothing there. So you can actually set up wonderful little gardens or clusters in your area, where you can have different vegetables grown on rooftops, bring them together and sell it and create a business for yourself. So these are, you can see the veggies you can see on the top left corner is a little shade house that I built for a old age home in Kerala many years back. And then on the right top corner, you can see this is of course, this is not a very typically Indian vegetable, but it's called lettuce. What I think is called as hakkarki, if I'm not wrong, in Kannada, in North Karnataka. If you see the bottom right side corner, you can see using all the kinds of old wood and things like that. This is a first program that I did in 2008 after I came from Australia, where I helped a school which had an orphanage attached to it to grow different kinds of vegetables for 20 orphan children. On the bottom left-hand side, you can see all these veggies that you see here. These are all grown with simple methodology without wasting any extra money. So you can grow a lot of things, like we say in simple hydroponics, in 100 square feet, that is about 10 feet by 10 feet area. If you were to grow assorted vegetables, you can at least get a harvest of minimum 1 kilogram of leafy vegetables, vine crops, or some root crops every single day. And 1 kilogram of fresh, good vegetable is enough for a family of father, mother, and 2 children. So simplified hydroponics is a wonderful thing. It's got its own advantages. You can grow a lot of food and enjoy what you grow. I mean, whatever you grow, because you're not used any. And I, for one, I don't allow my students to use chemical pesticides, which means they have to use all kinds of biological controls, physical controls, cultural controls. Only then they can have clean food. So there are different kinds of things that you can get into in this commercial hydroponics area or the soilless agricultural area. You can be either a input supplier, or you can be a grower, or you can do contract farming for people. You can become a consultant at some stage. So there's a whole lot of different things that you can do. I'm not going to read each and every item out here. I'm sure the organizers at KLE will be happy to share this PowerPoint with all of you once this program is finished. Now, if you see here, this is a commercial hydroponic farm, and you can see how plants are being grown. They're all lifted above the ground by almost a meter high. And all these plants that you see here, they're growing absolutely in water. Now, hydroponics, what is hydroponics? Now, hydroponics comes from two words that come from two different languages. Hydro in Latin means water, and ponics comes from the word ponos, which is a Greek word which means to work. So you can either call working in water or water working, whichever way you call it. When plants are grown with their roots only in water medium, it is not just only in water medium, but we add fertilizer to the water in certain ratios, which are pertinent for that particular crop, and we can grow them in this kind of method as well. So you can see how clean it is. It's almost like an intensive care unit. It's more cleaner than what you would see in a hospital. So this is the kind of cleanliness that in which you can grow crop. So here is palak, for example. This was my farm many years ago in Bangalore. I would be supplying at that time Bharti Walmart almost 120 kilograms of palak every single day from 2.5 acres. So you can see here how clean each of the leaves are. You can see the ground here, how beautiful and hygienic. There's no dirt at all. This is how we do soilless farming. So when you keep everything clean, you also reduce the incidence of pest and disease. So pest and disease is the biggest problem that farmers face in the modern times. So on the left is me, and on the right are two of my workers, just two workers looking after such a big area. You can see the palak, they're so big and so sweet and so wonderful. They all come with a lot of iron in it and a lot of health benefits. So this is just to share a picture with you. Of course, this is also, like I said, you have to also have science behind you. And in a farm, when you're operating equipment or electronic equipment, which are supposed to be connected to computers and things like that, you will always have challenges. And you should know that when you're in a rural area, it's very hard to get an electronics technician to help you. So you also need to have some technical knowledge. And this is me many, many years ago, early morning. I woke up and I had a problem. I had to water my plants. And thanks to my Navy days and having been in the submarine branch where we all are technically oriented, I had to change a few PCBs and do certain things. I made it work in half an hour, so my plants did not suffer. So that's why I said you need to be an all-rounder. It's not just about growing plants. You need to be on top of things. You should have many different capabilities to run a farm. So that's a little bit of palak that's been harvested. You can see today many people don't eat palak at home because they come from crazy places, most dirty water where palak grows. And we keep eating all this without realizing that it affects our health. And if you see the palak here, you can see how clean and how neat it is. You don't even have to wash it because there's no pesticide or anything in it. So you can eat clean green food using the soilless technology. Right. So looking at the present scenario and the future potential of commercial farming, before I just step into that, I would just like to say a word. I think this is the civil engineering department which is holding this webinar, and civil engineers and architects, when they build homes and when they build buildings and things like that, it is good to also add certain area for that community or for that individual who is a house owner, and give him some space where there's sufficient sun on the top, or do the architecture in such a way that there is always a way for that house owner or individual to grow some vegetables on their rooftops. Even that goes for commercial buildings. If you look at all these huge buildings that are there, like Bangalore and all these cities, I sometimes look at the IT parks and look at the rooftops. There's millions and millions of square feet. And the best part is, because we don't need soil, we can mitigate the problem of how agricultural land is shrinking because the cities are becoming bigger and bigger. But in our case, we are not worried about it because soil has nothing to do with us. We can grow anything on any place where there is sufficient amount of sunlight and a decent amount of good quality water. And places like Hubballi and Dharwad, we are very lucky to have the Malaprabha or river, I think, which gives you such beautiful clean water. And that's very good for growing in soilless technology. So what is the present scenario? There are a lot of retail chains like Reliance and so many more market and so many people. They're all looking for people who can supply them good produce and things like that. So you have an opportunity out there. But the thing is that it's very hard to find people who can supply quality food without having used any excessive amount of pesticides. A lot of farmers today, when you eat your vegetables, let it be your hakkarki or sabbaski or whatever you eat in North Karnataka, whatever you're eating, especially leafy vegetables, which are hardly 50 to 60-day crops, it is very sad to say farmers spray that 60 or 50-day crop 7 to 8 times during the entire cycle, just so that the crop is not damaged and it is in good condition so that they have enough to sell. But then you can imagine what kind of pesticides are there, how much of heavy metals that go into your body, and that actually makes your health go haywire. So there is a potential for people to enter into this field, but it is not as easy as it looks on the YouTube or when you Google hydroponics, you will see people saying a lot of myths about it. People spread a lot of lies about it. They say that, oh, well, when you grow in soilless media, there's no pest and disease. How can a pest know whether the plant is growing in soil or soilless media? It's not possible. So they also say we save 90% of water. Now, that's again not a truth, because it depends on which kind of crop you're growing. There are crops like tomato, like Joshi sir said, tomato may take even 400 liters of water during its crop cycle. So it is not right to say that, in a blanket manner that it saves 90% or 80% of water. It all depends on which crop it is, and it also depends on which environment you grow. So if you're growing some crop in a very hot area, then of course you need to give more water to your plants, because it's like how you feel thirsty in hot summer. So the plants also feel thirsty. So you cannot, put a blanket thing and say, oh, it saves 90% of the water. So you can become a branded vegetable vendor, and it's not so easy, but you need to you can build a brand if you like, and at some stage, but it takes time. And one has to be in agriculture in the long term. It's not like being in the stock market or something like that. Now, if you look at the strawberries, I don't know how much of strawberry actually comes to Hubballi market, but for those of you who are fond of strawberry. Now, if you look on the left top corner, you can see strawberry that we buy in our markets today. That is the quality that you get. Now, just look at the bottom right-hand corner, the same variety of strawberry grown in Bangalore, in my farm many years ago. It's the same varieties, the same crop, and look at the quality. So the thing is, we have the ability to grow crops to the genetic potential and eat healthy, nutritious strawberries. But the ones you see on the left side, on the top, I mean, even if I was to go to the market and look at these strawberries, I wouldn't even buy them. So we have an opportunity to grow a lot of different kinds of things. Fruits, of course, you cannot grow fruit trees in soilless, but you can grow strawberry, you can grow rock melon, you can grow watermelon, you can grow all these kind of crops, and which have got demand in the market. So this was some cherry tomatoes that I grew in Bangalore. You can see how beautiful they are. See the color for yourself. And we are talking of many years ago. So way back in 2012. So you can see the color, the beauty of the cherry tomatoes. You can grow this even at home if you like, in addition to your normal tomatoes. These are different varieties of tomatoes. This is called a beefsteak tomato. And these also command some good, decent prices in the market. May not be in the rural areas, but definitely in large cities, these definitely have some amount of demand. But again, remember, when you sell your soilless produce, when you sell a soillessly grown tomato, you cannot sell it based on the technology. If you go to the market and say, I use this technology and I grew it, really no one cares. What is more important is, are you being able to give them a quality product, which is surely not having any heavy metal traces, not having any microbiological contamination. And in such a way, you'll be able to sell crop, but don't expect to keep very high premium. In agriculture, we got to keep in one thing in mind, we do high volume and low margin as far as profits are concerned. Only then you will get a market. So why hydroponics? Because number one, healthy growth. You can also do in certain cases a bit of off-season production. You get much higher yield. Now, when I talk about yield, what I mean is that, like, for example, in the soil, a very, very good tomato farmer growing in soil in 1 acre may do even as high as 22 to 25 tons per acre per year. In our case, if you were to use what we call as indeterminate varieties of tomatoes that grow for 12 to 15 months, then you can even touch up to 300 tons per acre per year, which is almost 15 times the yield. But having said that, it doesn't apply as a formula for all crops. Different crops, you can increase yield in every crop, but I was just giving you an example of tomato. The quality of what you produce is very high. The hygiene levels are extremely good. They're very clean. I showed you how it's growing in the greenhouse. I showed you some pictures. The reduction in growing area. Yeah. So you can grow more in a lesser space. And one of the biggest problems that farmers face is what we call in Kannada as kale. This taking out this weed or this kale itself is a lot of work. A lot of labor is required to pull out the weeds. And that is, again, it drains the profits of the farmers. We don't have any problem of soil-borne diseases because we start with a sterile media like coconut peat, or we use various other sterile media other than soil, which doesn't start with any diseases. Also, if you were to use proper hydroponics, then the water can be recycled. You can predict your crop. Of course, predict means it doesn't mean you just say predict and keep quiet. You got to work hard, but you can definitely predict your crop to a large extent. The pest can be kept to a minimum by taking care, by using preventative methods, by using what we call integrated pest management, where we use all kinds of biological controls, physical controls, to make sure that before the attack of the pest or disease, we are taking care. It's like how you take homeopathic medicine or Ayurvedic medicine to keep a good health, even before you get attacked. Traceability. Now, the best part is today, when you buy tomato in the market, you don't know whether it's come from Gadag, it's come from which part of the country. You just buy it and you just have it. But here we can even know at some stage, if we do it right, we can also trace from where we get our food. One of the best things about modern agriculture is that traceability is possible. And like I said, the produce is high in nutrition because we give the plants all the nutrients that it needs in the most perfect manner. It's called precision farming. And also your produce can be bought by retail chains. You can grow them to genetic potential. Now, again, see, look at the good thing about this. Because we don't use soil, we don't need a tractor, we don't need a tiller. We need no need to replace soil. Like in greenhouses, sometimes soil has to be replaced because they have lost their vigor. You can turn around between crops very quickly. You can have more number of crops per year. The working ability is much better because I showed you in the picture the height of the benches where the plants are growing. They're growing at 1 meter, which means they're at your waist level. You don't have to bend and work, so it's not going to be hard on you. You can use much less labor compared to the soil. Water also, you can reduce the water usage. And like I say, lazy workers will be very happy to have this kind of system because they can stand and work without having to break their back. So it's a smart way to grow and earn good money. Of course, you've got to work hard. It's not so easy, and we use all the micronutrients. There are 13 solid elements that plants need, like how a human body needs, and 3 gases, of course, which are free, which are carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and oxygen. So we can grow some great crops. And so that's the thing. So we have a very good value proposition that we can give when we sell our produce to the customers. We can pack it well. We can tell them how we grown it. If you're selling to a big buyer, you can call them to your farm, show them everything, show them the records that you keep. There's no need to tell any lies. You can be absolutely truthful to your customers. And today, people are willing to pay ₹5 or ₹10 extra for the truth, because truth is not so easily found today. Right. So you can see this guy. He is my worker many years back in my farm. Look at him smiling. This is the evening time. I took this picture. He looks as fresh as he was when he came in the morning. So they're very happy workers. They work well. And these are some of the tomatoes that I grew, Italian variety of tomatoes in Bangalore many years ago. And we used to sell to Bharti Walmart. So this is heirloom tomato. You can see pear tomatoes, and various kinds of vegetables can be grown and absolutely clean. So these are some more of the beefsteak tomatoes, as we call them. Yeah. So labor, land, nutrition, disease and pest and disease, water, I've already explained to you. So you have great control on the environment. You must remember, farming, many people don't think that in farming hygiene is important, because I'm a consultant. I go across to so many hundreds of greenhouses in India. When I go to the greenhouses, there are no doors. The greenhouse film is torn, and there's no gate. There's nothing there. And even the workers sit inside the greenhouse where the plants are growing, and they're having their lunch, and you can't do such things. So we also have a subject called greenhouse hygiene management, which is hardly taught in India, but yes, thanks to having been in Australia, I learned the subject. So hygiene is 80% of your work done. I mean, all of us agree today, after COVID, we don't want to shake hands with anybody, but we all the time want to sanitize our hands, because we touch so many surfaces and things like that. So we have understood the value of hygiene thanks to COVID. Yeah, so plants are protected from the UV radiation as if you grow them in a greenhouse, and the safe biological control. Like I said, water is used effectively, and you can reuse the water if it's a proper hydroponic system, like you see in this picture. You can also protect from certain unpredictable weather patterns. So if you grow in a greenhouse, for example, or a poly house with a polyfilm on top, you can save the plants from rain and the effects of rain. And the best part is the main difference between a soil and a soilless grower is root zone management. Most of the people who grow in soil, or those of you who have plants growing in your homes in a pot or otherwise, have you ever known or seen what is happening in the root zone? You have never seen. Whatever is happening in the root zone decides what will happen in the shoot zone. So we, as soilless farmers or soilless growers, once in a month, we do something called root zone analysis. We actually look at the root zone to see what is happening there. If we see something going wrong in the root zone, then we know definitely there's a problem. It's like your stomach. If you've got a bad stomach system, then you get diseases. If your stomach is clean always, you hardly ever get any diseases. The same goes with plants as well. You can make efficient use of labor. You can use optimum nutrient formulations, and in certain cases, you can also grow off-season vegetables. So look at this, just an idea, just to give you an idea. See, this is a rooftop of a building, or a rooftop on the right and left. It can be made into a growing system. There are places today in the world, like in Singapore and Japan, and as civil engineers, I would request all of you in your architecture to also look at having a small greenhouse on top of these roofs. Number one, what happens is when you have greenhouses on the top of the roof, you also help the air conditioning system to relax a bit, and it doesn't heat up the topmost floors as it normally heats up. The amount of oxygen that is developed inside these kind of structures can be channeled into the air conditioning duct, and you can push oxygen into the working area, especially in companies where you have like IT companies where there are a lot of cubicles and people are sitting there 24 hours just breathing that air. You can also give them a little extra oxygen that is pumped from the greenhouses into the ventilation or the circulating duct. So please keep that in mind, guys. You can also be useful in that method. So this was just a 33,000 square feet system that I had designed for a company in Singapore many years ago. So you can use all kinds of rooftops, and rooftops actually substitute the land that has been lost due to urban growth. The strengths. So like I said, our strength is that you can make any land with a water source and sunlight, you can make that a growing area. You can grow high yield from less space. You can get produce that can get premium prices if you grow some exotic vegetables, for sure. Less labor, I've already explained. There are always, strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats in everything. But remember, like I said, it is not a rocket science, but it's perfect science. And all of you can learn it, since I think all of you are civil engineering students, if I'm not wrong. If you have a basic 12th standard understanding of science, you can learn. I do not know whether I have Gyaneshwar, my student, on this panel today. I mean, on listening in. He's only 17 years old and he's from Tamil Nadu. And this little boy, he's my youngest student ever. He's only 17 years old. And he told his father he doesn't want to do any degree ever. He wants to learn with me in Bangalore. So he came for a 90-day program. And I'm also putting him on internship on a larger farm that's coming up. But you can imagine, at this age, a child deciding that he wants to be a farmer for all his life. Of course, he comes from a farming family, but he told his father that he wants to learn more scientific farming. So I think he is there on this panel and he must be listening in. Right. So what do you need? You need capital, a little extra capital in the beginning, but it makes up towards the end. Trained manpower, a bit of education, some basic scientific understanding the market, understanding each crop has its own practices. So you have to understand the practices before you actually start the crop. You should have a knowledge of integrated pest management, environment control if you're using a greenhouse, climate control, and knowledge of bio-friendly insects. There are some insects which are friendly to farmers. You should understand what are those, so that you need to introduce them into your greenhouse or in your plantation so that they are also eating away the bad pest. Well, it's not a plug and play system. It needs a lot of diligence, devotion, and a lot of passion. And the sad part about soilless agriculture is that, unlike in soil, what happens in soil is soil has got a lot of buffering capacity, where if you don't water the plant one day, the plant won't die. But here, when you use an artificial media or a different media which is substituting soil, these media may not have the ability to forgive small mistakes, which means the window of opportunity that you have to take action is very small. So you need skill, a lot of skill, but you can learn and achieve it. There's no problem. I get students from all kinds of people come to me. Computer engineers come to me, civil engineers come to me, lawyers, chartered accountants, all kinds of people come to learn. And like I said, in the end, overconfidence can kill not just crops, it can kill anything in life. So we got to keep track of it. So like I said, we are not marketing it based on the technology, but we'll be marketing our product based on the quality. So we have a lot of opportunity in India, and this is only a growing field. A lot of you can consider learning this and taking it forward in some way or the other. It doesn't matter whether you're a civil engineer or an electronics engineer. If nothing else, grow something at home. So yes, so we have a lot of future in this field. And people remember one thing: COVID or not, food is something that cannot get affected at any time. When you have COVID or you don't have COVID, people have to eat. So it's a recession-proof industry. People always need good food. And especially after COVID, everyone's looking for clean, healthy food. So this is the right time for anyone who really is contemplating getting into the agricultural space. Yeah, like I already told you, there are retail channels. You can sell it in wholesale. There are export markets. There are lots of different things. I won't go too deep into those because we can keep talking about it for hours. But just to let you know that there's plenty of opportunity. Export sales is there. We have a lot of things happening. Like take an example of HUBBALLI Airport. HUBBALLI Airport is going to be having a big cargo terminal very soon. Now, these are going to be connected not only to India, but also abroad. So there again, there are a lot of opportunities for people. Seasonality of production, you can grow a lot of crops, not all crops, but some crops even off-season. So the off-season vegetables are off-season. Any fruit has its own demand and obviously good money. So this is how some of the, you can see the tomatoes on the left corner, bottom left corner. You can see the tomatoes. They are just looking like grapes. And these are all grown in a vertical or an A-frame system. You can see the quality. You can see the capsicum or the bell pepper on the left top. Everything is so clean. Everything is so neat. And if you see the bottom right-hand corner, you can see strawberry is growing on the top, and at the bottom, some leafy vegetables are growing. So you can make a profit not only from the strawberry on top, but also from the leafy vegetables that need lesser light. They can be grown at the bottom. So yes, it's a successful industry, and in many countries, like here in Australia, there are lots and lots of people who do soilless agriculture. People are getting into it because there's more technology. There's a lot of science in it, so people are happy to get into it. The market is quite big, and of course, like I said, hydroponics cannot replace mango trees and apple trees, and it cannot replace wheat and rice and other things because it doesn't make economic sense. Otherwise, most vegetables, most medicinal herbs, most eating herbs or culinary herbs you can grow and at home or otherwise. So it's growing, it is growing. Only thing is, one of the biggest problem today in India is there is a lack of skill. And this lack of skill is what is stopping us from growing faster. And we are getting there, but it's going to take time. That's the reason why I do skill building. I teach a lot of my students, and they learn from scratch. Yes, and they understand that there is value in having the skill. So government intervention, university interest also can propel the use of this technology, and institutions such as KLE also can, on their own buildings, have something or the other growing. And as a matter of a hobby or otherwise, even students can be involved. It's not rocket science, as I said. It's quite easy to learn if you have some basic scientific backing. I'm not going to go into the systems because this was made for a different audience. But this will be shared with all of you, so you can look at it. I also designed something called a food park, food production park for India many years back. And you can see it's like a small little city with greenhouses on the top. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is actually all the greenhouses. And then you have all the post-processing bays, the transport, and things like that. On the left, you can see the Legion. You have everything that you can think of that is needed, where you are growing vegetables in one place and then as a cluster and collecting it, post-processing it, and selling it to the world. Yeah, so this I'm not going into it, but I've already explained. So so we got a lot of different things. Food park, these are the components of a food park. One can be growing vegetables, you can grow herbs, fruits, medicinal plants, animal fodder, a lot of different things. So this PPT will be shared with you, and it will have everything that you can imagine inside that huge 100 or 200 acre area. So this is just telling you on the left side, the amenities and various things. Then your, what we call the retail chain companies, all these various people who can be part as stakeholders in the value chain. This is an organogram of a food park, which tells you how it will be run, who will be doing what. It's like the organogram of your KLE college. So you have a principal, and you have the deans, you are the head of departments, and so on and so forth. So same way for vegetable production or food park, we have this kind of thing. So great, guys. Nice talking to you about it. This is a huge subject. I can keep going on and on and on, but then in the given time that we have, this is just a quick introduction for you all about the science of soilless agriculture. And if you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer your questions. I think we have a Q&A session, as my dear friend Dhruv Kulkarni told me that there will be a Q&A session. So all of you can ask me questions, and thank you very much, and take care, all of you. Take care of your health. Be good, and Jai Hind. Q&A.
Let's
Hello,
sir. To be posted in the chat box.
Hello, sir. Thanks for nice presentation. I want to ask for a resource person. What is the cost incurred for this to build all this?
Cost is depending on so many different factors.
Because when we see traditional farming, it will be very cheap. When you are going for hydroponic kind of thing, there the cost will be more, and what a product we are trying to send it. Whatever we are growing, that the cost will be also more there.
Well, it's like this, if you must remember that number one, you need to understand what does the market want, first thing. So you need to understand the market first. So unfortunately, in the industry today, when you ask somebody to set up something for you, they ask you to go for a Rolls-Royce model or a Mercedes-Benz model of agriculture. I am a Maruti 800 man, and I believe in simple, very, very simple methodology. However, I cannot say that the initial cost is not there, but definitely much, much lesser than what is being told in the market today. And it all depends on what you want to grow. Once you know what plant you want to grow, you'll and also understand in which environment you're growing it, then you have to decide what structure is needed, what kind of things you need. So there is no blanket commercial off-the-shelf solution which says that it will cost per acre so much. It can be something even as low as 5 lakhs for an acre. It can go up as high as even 25, 30 lakhs, depending on what you're growing, in which environment you're growing. So there is a lot of things that are to be taken into consideration to be able to actually put a pin on it and say that, yes, this is how much it's going to cost. So yes, of course, like when you start, you need grow bags, you need some nutrients, you need cocoa peat, you need all those things. But then I show people ways and means of how to recycle many, many different things. Like I have started something called Mission Turmeric 2021, which is basically what you call in Karnataka as Arishna. I did a research last in 2020, launched Mission Turmeric 2021, and where people were talking of crores of rupees per acre, I just asked people to spend around 35, maximum 32 to 35 lakhs without the subsidy, so that they can get some amazing yield. See, it is what you're asking is correct. If you want to get good quality produce and you're getting much higher yield and you're getting much higher quality, then it is worthwhile putting your money into something. But if you're going to grow something that doesn't have a market or other things, then obviously you should not be putting that kind of money. Yes, definitely in soil, we also don't realize that for soil farmers, they need other than what we're talking about, like they may need tractors, they may need tillers, they may need so many other things, and then they need a lot of pesticides. So that also adds up to their expenditures. Just removing weeds itself is a lot of work for farmers. And you imagine if you have people coming to remove weeds in a 1 acre or 2 acres or 10-acre farm, how much of money goes into it? So there are some trade-offs here and there. That is the reason why I said we have to grow in a sensible, smart way without having to put unnecessary stuff which are in the market today. People, they will ask you to have things which you don't need. So all that adds up and that becomes expensive. But when a person comes to me, I explain to them what is the right roadmap, how to put the least and take the most. Because I believe I've been a farmer myself. I know the pain points of farmers. I know how easy or difficult it is when you do farming. So I tried my best to put people on the right track. But I always tell people, you may have all the money in the world and you may have hundreds of acres of land, but if you don't have the skill, don't even put 1 rupee into it. So even before thinking of what profit I will get, I always tell people, first pass through Saraswati, then you can expect the Lakshmi. But people want Lakshmi first without Saraswati. So I tell them, sorry, without learning the subject, don't get into it at all. So that is how I guide people in this industry.
Okay,
Any
sir.
questions?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any more questions? You can put in the chat box, please. I request Professor Sabri sir to take the questions from the students and put them in the chat box.
You can also
Good
send me the
afternoon, sir.
questions.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
It's Madhumati here.
Mhm.
I'm a faculty from the civil department. Sir, I just want to know, to begin with, if I have to go for the hydroponic system at home. So to begin with, the system we need to start.
You can start. You don't need to go for a hydroponic system with pipes and all that growing. You can start in much cheaper method. You don't have to go for all those pipes and pumps and those kind of things. I am a teacher. I teach people how to grow in the most simplest manner. So if you have the skill, you must understand plants don't understand in whether they are growing in a golden tub or a platinum tub. They all say that just give me water, give me food, give me what I want. They don't really understand where they are growing, whether they're growing hydroponically or aeroponically. They really don't know. They're very innocent little things. But all they ask is what they want. And if you can give it, then you're good to go. So my endeavor in this field has always been how to take people or help people to start in a small way, in the most inexpensive manner, and use the science correctly to be able to get results. So yes, you can start. The best part about this whole thing is you can start in even 10 square feet if you like. With a few 5 grow bags, you can start. So they're not an issue at all.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any more questions from the students? I request Professor Sabri sir to please collect the questions from the students and put them in the chat box. I think if there are no more questions, then I pass on the mic to Meghana from.
Let us move on to the vote of thanks. I request Bhavya to give the vote of thanks.
On behalf of Pioneers Association, I profusely thank our chief guest, Lieutenant C.V. Prakash sir, for an informative and interesting talk on soilless farming. We also thank our Dean Academics, Dr. Sharadji Joshi sir, for his involvement and encouragement in all our activities. I thank our Head of Department, Dr. Rajshekhar Ladimat sir, for his support and guidance. I thank all of those who joined the webinar arranged and made it a success. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Anshul, and thank you.
Everyone for cooperating. Let us wind the program.
Thank you. Thank you, Vishnu Prakash sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak to you, and from 11,000 kilometers away. Yeah, we have a time difference here, so it doesn't matter. But it was my pleasure to talk to you. And if you still have any questions, you can always come back through my dear friend Dhruv, and we can always keep talking about the subject. Thank you very much, guys, and Godspeed, good luck. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Any more ones? So shall we stop?
Okay, sir.